Welcome everyone to our Thursday activity of the week. And today we have a super important and very special topic that we're going to talk about. And it's called emotional intelligence. And some of you have been following us for the last 2 weeks. We did the bundle sale on emotions. We've been talking about emotions. And emotional intelligence basically means that our kids know what to do with their feelings in a productive way. So they're not tantruming and screaming and crying and we don't know what to do. They're actually able to calm down, communicate, and problem solve in a way that makes sense to us and other people, which is so important for kindergarten readiness. A lot of you guys know we talk about kindergarten readiness and academics and playful learning, but emotions, if our kids don't have that emotional intelligence piece, the rest of it kind of flies out the window. So I have Alexa. She's some sort of crunchy mama, which is an awesome age, and she's going to talk to us about some of this. And she's got her adorable baby with her, which. And so, Alexis, do you want to talk to us a little bit about your experience with emotional intelligence and why it's important to you?
Yeah. So I never really thought about emotional intelligence as a thing, really. I mean, it's just kind of a part of our lives as adults.
Yeah.
It's not something we necessarily think about until I had my daughter, who is now almost 4. And I started looking into attachment parenting, peaceful and gentle parenting, and really a lot of those philosophies are about raising children who understand their own and other people's emotions. And that was what kind of got me interested in building emotional intelligence and ways that I could do that with my children as they grew. And now with my daughter being 3.5, almost 4, I'm starting to see a lot of the fruits of those early labors.
Yes.
Where she's able to not only talk about what she's feeling and put a name to those feelings, but she's also able to empathize with other people and kind of starting to imagine what it feels like to be somebody else, which is so exciting to see that kind of happening, that development happening.
Right. And when kids can identify how others are feeling, that changes the whole ball game, right? I mean, they can interact with them differently. They can be more, they have just empathy development. And that's so important when we're looking at our kids individually. And now when they go to kindergarten, when they become adults, right? Especially right now, we're kind of locked inside, or some of us are. And to have that skill and to practice that is great. So I know you said you had some experiences with your daughter recently that might help us know what to do in certain situations.
Yeah. So, when she was very little, we started with, even before she could, he wants to see too. Even before we could talk to her and have that communication flow, we would always sportscast. It's called sportscasting, where it's explaining what we think she's feeling to her, giving her those emotional words to use. We aren't born knowing what our emotions are. They just kind of are inside of us.
Right.
And so having those words, she was able to start connecting the dots of, I'm feeling a certain way and this is the word for that. So that's kind of how we started. So that's really helpful, of something like, I see that you're upset right now. I think you might be feeling angry. And maybe you're feeling angry because you feel hurt. Maybe somebody hurt your feelings, or you fell down and you got hurt and then you got angry. So that was really a big step for her to be able to look inside of herself and then put a name to those emotions. And then even just recently, we went to the park and a little boy fell down off of his tricycle, as happens to little kids, and he started crying, and she was very concerned about why is he crying? And so we had a little bit of a conversation about, well, what do you think he's feeling? Did you see him fall? And she said, yes. And I said, well, how do you feel when you fall and get hurt? And she was then able to say, oh, I think he's feeling sad. I think he's hurt. And then we can even take it one step further now that she's a little bit older and say, what do you think would make him feel better? And it's not always, the same for each kid. So for her, she's a huge extrovert. And so to her, giving him a hug would make her feel better if she was in his position. And that doesn't always work for every child. So then, we're continuing the conversation of that would help you feel better. But what do you think would make him feel better? Because he's the same as you. And so just having those conversations really drives home all of those emotional intelligence ideas in her head of, what am I feeling? What is someone else feeling? Someone is separate from me. We're not the same. And so developing that empathy, but also helping her realize that there are other ways to make people feel better and to ask them what they would like.
Right, exactly. And one of the activities that we do, and then we'll talk about Sammy in a minute, but is to make faces in a mirror. Make your sad face, make your angry face, make your sad face, and have the kids look at what those faces look like on them. So when they see other kids making certain faces, they can pick up on the physical communication and those gestures that a lot of kids do in preschool who don't have the words yet to actually put with their emotions. They can look at somebody and identify in themselves and others how they're feeling, so they know how to respond to their feelings. And that's so important. When I was teaching preschool, we used to have the kids ask the kids, how can I make you feel better? Or what can I do for you? And then it was funny because the other kids are like, wait, what? You want to help me? Oh, wow. And that just started a whole conversation and built their relationships got stronger now. But same thing with babies. I'm sure you have a little one who might be getting ready to transition into moving and taking maybe sister's toys as she gets on. So how are you supporting with her?
So it's been really exciting and interesting to watch the interaction between both of them, because all of that early work we did with her has really translated to how she interacts with him. And I will take this, emotional intelligence idea to their relationship as well. If he's fussy or if he's crying, I will ask her, it sounds like he's upset. What do you think is wrong?
Right.
What do you think he's trying to tell us? And it gets her interested and feeling like she's helping, which he is, and she's learning at the same time how to interact with him. And then we always make sure that she knows that she doesn't have to share everything. She doesn't have to share anything that is hers. And that we've always done that. We've always done taking turns rather than a sharing type of scenario. And she's very, very generous with her toys. And if she's not ready to let him use it, then we let her know that that's okay.
Right.
And that gives her that sense of ownership and on her side. Yeah.
Right. And sometimes this wouldn't work for him so young, but there's something I share with my parents. They're called sharing baskets, where when they get old enough and they want each other's toys, every day they come out and each one picks 5 toys out of their toys and puts it in the sharing bin. So that day, anybody can take whatever toys are in the sharing bin, and then they bring them back to their rooms and the next 5, either the same ones or new ones or whatever, but it gives them control And, they're still in charge of their toys, but they're also in charge of sharing. And it brings a lot of positivity stuff too.
I love that idea. I do. I love that.
Yeah, especially when he gets older and, and he's going to want stuff that's not age appropriate for him yet.
Right.
And so it's kind of a way for her to share things that he can actually use.
Right. But we're taking this time now while he's so little to have him be sharing, we're taking turns with her with his own toys, which makes her feel that he's generous with her. And it just creates this positive interaction back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you can step back and look at how do you feel for kids that are her own age, how the adults feel, how the babies feel. And I even say if you have pets around, it's really good to do that too, because sometimes, dogs don't want to be petted or they don't want to be, played with at the moment, or they're trying to eat, they don't. So it's a good thing to step back. And so for a child, developing those emotions and understanding not only what they feel, but what other people feel like will help them in group settings forever.
Yes, exactly. I mean, when we started doing this, my husband's also very interested in emotional intelligence, and we read everything we could find, and so much of it is that your emotional intelligence is so much more important than where you are academically.
Yeah.
And it has so much more of an emphasis on how your life will go that it was something we really felt was important to focus on starting very young.
Right. And a lot of kindergarten teachers, if you ask them what they want the kids to know before they start kindergarten, they'll say, if Johnny can't share the green crayon out of the crayon box at the table with the 4 other kids that are there, then we're not going to be able to teach them anything, because they're going to be so zoned in on the crayon box and will miss the whole alphabet lesson. So so a lot of teachers are saying that same thing, that emotional piece is really important.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing people pop in and out. If you guys have questions, you can pop in, ask questions go to our page. If you're watching in one of our groups, you have to go to the page, Easy Preschool Activities, and look at the video and type in questions on the feed, and we will be able to see that on our end. So is there anything or any other activities you wanted to talk about? I know I was going to talk about how to do that, but I didn't know if you had anything else that you wanted to highlight.
I think the biggest thing is taking every opportunity you can to talk about emotions and accepting whatever the emotions are.
Right.
I try to always have the mentality that all emotions are okay. Not all behavior, but all emotions are okay.
Right.
And that when we can have a conversation about the emotions, it's a great opportunity for us to connect and also to help her learn.
Yeah.
And there's so many opportunities throughout the day. Personally, I'm an introvert, so talking so much was really hard for me at first, because it's kind of just an ongoing conversation, and it's a lot of talking.
Right. It's a lot.
To tell her, what are you feeling? And then helping her identify whatever emotion is, whether she's happy, whether she's sad, angry, frustrated. It's a lot of talking. So I think as an introvert, the hardest part for me was just to start talking.
Talking about it. And so Tammy, which is created to support this, part of this is it's a digital ebook, and it teaches kids how to label their feelings. So there's over 90 different emotions that have been identified in the human range of emotions so far, and that's an insane amount of emotions. And our kids, our 2-year-olds have 250 words. They don't know all 90 emotion words, right? We probably don't know all those till we're 10.
Exactly.
them figure out these words like through play, through playing games. And the ebook, the digital piece of this, has a bunch of playful games that helps kids learn how they feel and what words to use with it. So that's really important. That first step. And then once they feel angry, frustrated, or they need to know what to do next. Like, how do I get from feeling angry to calm enough that I can actually communicate with mom or my teacher or my friend why, and then what I can do about it next. So it's like this big circle. They have to identify their feelings, calm down, talk about it, and then problem solve. And that is a lot for our little ones to know how to do. It's a big expectation, especially when they don't have a lot of words yet, and they're not really. So Sammy, and I showed. I'll move out of the way. This is like my little Sammy corner, which this is the book Soothing Sammy, which teaches kids what to do when they get mad. And Sammy's the golden retriever, and they go to visit Sammy, the dog, at his dog house, and he gives the kids all sorts of things to help them calm down, like a drink and a picture, and something and a cloth to touch with their face. And at the back of the book, there's directions on how to create your own Sammy house, like Sammy's house in the book. And so you use a blank, an empty container or a box or something like that, and you fill it with everything they talk about in the story. And it comes with Sammy the dog, who lives in the house with all of his stuff, like a cloth, a cup to get a drink out of, a picture to look at, and all these things that you have around the house. So the kids can go visit Sammy when they feel upset, right? And they can calm down. So the idea is they go visit Sammy in their little Sammy spot. This is Sammy's spot that I made here. They call it Sammy time. So if they're so upset, you just say, "Do you need some Sammy time?" And then they'll know, who Sammy is because you read the story. But then after they're calm, there's all these pictures on the wall, and to explain, how do I feel? Do I feel happy? Not so happy? Do I feel mad? And it gives them visuals on how to use their words to explain what they're feeling, so that we can do that next step, because that next step is what's missed a lot. I was mad. Now I'm calm because I visited Sammy and I was able to calm down. Now I feel, and what will make me feel better will be blank. And that's when I can actually talk to mom or dad or teacher when I get to this stage, right? I can, now that I'm calm, I can say, I was mad because Tom took my toy, and next time I want him to wait 5 minutes, or, or something like that. So we can actually look at that whole picture. So that emotional intelligence, the reason why this is so important is because it gives kids a visual and a tangible way to process things and to understand what they're doing. Because as adults, we kind of do this inherently.
Right.
We take a drink of coffee, we chew gum, we go on a walk, we're like, I need to calm down. But kids need that visual reminder, which is what Sammy does. It kind of brings it down to their 3 and 4-year-old level, right? But also, I have preschool teachers using this in the classroom, and you see some of the other kids. This is where that emotional intelligence piece comes in. They say, do you need some Sammy time? To their friend who's kind of like, they're like, I think you need Sammy time. And the kids say, oh, that's good. Then they go. But it's kind of that way to introduce kids to feelings that they are okay, like what you were talking about. And this is the solution. We can actually give you the tools and the strategies to help you instead of just let you go and be so.
And honestly, that is a huge life skill to know. Yes. I don't feel right. I don't feel good right now. And these are the things that I can do that will help me feel better. I mean, that's right. Some adults never get there.
Right. Adults, Yeah, exactly. And I think
so that's a huge life skill that, they all need to know
right,
how to help them.
especially right now, right? When we're kind of going through an uncertain time. I had a mom reach out to me yesterday in a group, and she said, oh my gosh, my 4-year-old I feel like she just hit terrible twos again.
Aw.
And I had to say, we're in this weird time, and they're feeling our nervousness and our anxiety and our stress about, we don't know what's happening tomorrow. We don't know, that sort of thing. And so they're feeding off of that.
Right.
And so, yeah, they understand how we're feeling, and they mirror it back to us, whether we understand that they do or they don't.
Exactly.
For adults to calm down and get that support is just as important when you're a parent, because your kids are watching.
Yeah, I think since I've become a mother, I've learned much more about my own emotions and my own triggers.
Yeah.
Just by having a little one around,
Yes.
mirroring back to me what I maybe don't even realize I'm feeling.
Right.
She can feel and sense and show me areas where I am maybe pushing down emotions or not as aware.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. It's very interesting how kids pick up on things that we just kind of push to the back of our minds.
Uh-huh.
But well, so do you want to say a little bit about your blog, if people want to find you, where you're at, and how?
Sure. Yeah. So come on over to my Facebook page. It's Sort of Crunchy Mama. That's also the name of my blog. I talk about gentle parenting, natural products, natural non-toxic products for your house and your kids and all that fun stuff. I also dabble a little bit in slow living, how slowing down is really, really helpful for our kids and our families, and how to do that. Things like how to unplug yourself and be more present with your kids, how to get your kids off the screens for at least a little while, things like that. So yeah, just come on over. We got a bunch of other Sort of Crunchy moms. I've also got a group connected that if you're looking for more of a private group community, we have a lot of good conversations in there. I think we're up to about 2,000 Sort of Crunchy moms in there. So if you have more private things that you want to talk about or just want some community support, we're over there too.
Yeah. Everything's wonderful. Oh, it said Brianna says she needs to join.
Come over.
I know her. She's great. So I just wanted to thank you for coming on and talking to us about this. This is such an important topic that it's not talked about a lot. It's not talked about enough. And hopefully it gets out there more, and people understand why emotions is so that foundational skill that really is the foundation to everything else in our lives.
It's gonna determine the relationships they have in their lives. It's gonna determine their school careers, their work careers. It really is gonna be everything for them.
Yeah, it's basically, what do I do with these feelings that I have?
Yes.
Right? And how do I respond to everybody else's feelings in a way that's not going to be, I have a terrible outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm going to put a link in here. I'm going to put a link to Sort of Crunchy Mama so you can find her page, and I'll put a link to Soothing Sammy if you want to see more about it. But yeah, thanks for watching. And if you're watching the replay, let us know, ask us questions. I'll let Alexis know if there's more questions, and she can pop in and answer later. All right.
Thank you so much for having me.
Nice to see your little one. He was joy. All right. Bye.
Bye.